welcome to Digital Talk Podcast, the podcast where we share stories with the wider community of how digital technology and telecoms can do good. Join me, Ian Ginn.
And me, Frankie Spagnolo, on our Discovery series, as we talk to our guests and find out about themselves, what motivates them, and help celebrate their projects and achievements.
On today's episode, we are delighted to be joined by Mea Thompson, the Chief Commercial Officer of Unconnected.org. So welcome to our podcast today, Mea.
Thank you so much, Ian.
We're going to do a two-part interview. This part is really about to learn a little bit more about you and sort of understand what is behind this wonderful person. So if we can kick off with the first sort of question is, do you have a philosophy in life that you live by?
Wow, that's a deep question to start with.
Yeah.
But yes, don't everyone have some type of philosophy? I think the philosophy that I'm living by is actually given to me by my mum, if I have to be honest. And it's, have you heard about the open hands philosophy?
Oh, open hands like this?
Yes. So if you cup your hands, you can get stuff in there, like, all types of stuff can fit in your hands, right? But as soon as you start to close your hand and grip hard around the stuff, become a bit greedy, that's where you're going to lose a lot of things. And no more things is going to be able to enter your hands, right?
Right.
But if you live your lives with your hands open and cupped, which means that people can probably take things out of your hand, but they can also put things back. Mm-hmm. And I've really found that throughout life, that it's so true. Because sometimes I've ended up in situations where I've closed my hands and I've become greedy and thinking about myself, egoistic. But that means that the hands will stay closed. But as soon as I kind of open my hands and share things with people, they keep filling up my hands too. So is that a philosophy? I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful philosophy. I like it also, the physical aspect. Let's say you can actually show it. And what you're saying to me, well, if I understood it correctly, you're suggesting your mum was a real role model for you as well.
No, she wasn't a role model. She is a role model.
Okay. Sorry.
No. She's amazing. She's a super strong woman leading a massive role within a male-dominated industry.
Very
cool.
So
yeah, she's taught me a lot.
Is there a word for that, open hands, in Swedish? Is that your native language, yes?
Yeah, so if I would say it in Swedish, is öppna handens philosophy.
Open hand.
The open hands. Maybe it's the same as karma. No, it's slightly different.
Yeah, anyway. It's very good. That's a fantastic philosophy. So what about teenager? What did you want to be when you were a teenager?
I wanted probably to be cool because I was the biggest nerd that you could find as a teenager. Well, I wanted to be cool for sure. I've never really succeeded with that.
Oh, no, you have.
Yeah, now I'm cool. Depends on who you ask. But work-wise, I wanted to become a doctor. So that was my focus, going to school. Yeah.
And educationally, what is your background? How far did you get? What did you study?
I studied nature science. And then I got into med school. And then when that happened, I was like, well, because you have to study like a nerd super, super hard to get anywhere near that, I was like, I'm going to take a gap year and go and do some au pairing, which means like a live-in nanny. I was 18 or 17 at the point. So I moved to New Zealand. And that's where I got into the telecom industry.
Right. That's amazing. To say you went to a different part of the world and you found more than you expected, let's say. Yeah. Where you bargained with in that sense. What are you passionate about? Have you got particularly hobbies?
I've got two. One thing that I love doing is Latin dance, like salsa and...
Fantastic. Yeah. Any good? Or is it just a parties type of thing like you?
No, I've taken classes for some time and there were some conferences in Bogota where I really had to kind of show my skills off. But that was, it was a great party. So salsa dancing is one thing and then fishing. Love fishing.
Really good. Well, there you go. Those are things, we could have spent a lot of time guessing what you do and what you like.
And does your husband salsa dance with you?
Oh, God, no. I took him to like one salsa class when we first met. And this is, when the boyfriend at that time is like willing to do anything because he's so deeply in love. And he lasted 2 classes and then I had to go by myself.
Well, at least you continued to go by yourself.
I think you preempted the next question, which is what you do to relax. But maybe that's where the fishing comes in. Is that sort of like your escape, or what else do you do?
Yeah, I would say I'm horrible at relaxing. It drives my family nuts. Like I can't relax. So when I relax, I'm like doing something. So like skiing, fishing, hiking, like that's when I relax. Like I can't just go to a spa.
But you mentioned fishing. Fishing's quite a sort of sedate, sitting around waiting for something to happen. Or you fly fisher, because there is, of course, horse fishing where it's like active fishing.
Very active.
And there's other ones where you're on a lake where you just sit there drinking a beer or whatever.
Yeah, but the kind of fishing that I like is like when I know that there's fish. So like you take a boat and you have like the good instrument on the boat. So it's like fishing with a purpose. It's not like throwing the rod in, like it needs to have
Okay, this is purposeful fishing.
Energy fishing.
Guys, you heard it first. There is such a thing as purposeful fishing.
Did you have like a book or a movie or something growing up that really shaped you or had an impact on you early on?
I like the question, and normally I would say like it's music. The thing is changes, like it changes with who you are, the different stages you go through in life.
Yeah,
there are some songs that like just so impactful, like Bridge Over Troubled Water. That song just makes me...
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's one of those goosebump songs. But I think that if something kind of life-changing, I read a lot of biographies because I'm not into like poetry and all that stuff. But like biographies, when powerful people show their journeys, those I love. Like Michelle Obama's latest book is just like so powerful stories. Another one is, it's called Half the Sky by Nicholas Kristof. And that book really changed and influenced my perspective on gender equality and social justice. So if you haven't read Half the Sky, definitely make sure to grab one of those copies.
So if there was a skill that you were able to master just like that, you know, something which you can't do, is like a magic wand type of thing, what is there something you'd like to be able to do?
Yeah, well, flying, but that's not possible. So if there's something that you could actually do, I would say play ice hockey, like really well. That's the skill that I'm seeking.
On what level of ice skating are you? Are you able to do a twirl and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, Swedish measurements, I'm pretty poor. But just because my husband and my son are like uber great at ice hockey. So I was like, you know what? I want to be there and play with them. But instead, I'm like holding the coffee on the sideline, which is not fair. So yeah, ice hockey, that's the skill that I want.
Well, I have faith that that's something you can do. You know, it's just a bit of salsa on ice.
Yeah, but you also get nervous because I've got too much like consequence thinking. So I was like, I'm going to break a hip or strain my arm.
Yeah. This is why I said to Ian, even skiing for me, like throwing yourself down this mountain at this point, like it's consequence thinking for sure.
Yeah, skiing I love. That I can do. That's the only sport where I'm better than my husband is skiing. Good. So yeah, make sure that's in the podcast.
That's it. I'll stay.
Beautiful.
So this is one of our flagship questions about a deserted island. But if you were to be stranded on a deserted island and you could have one piece of technology with you, not the mobile phone, what would you want to be stranded with?
Oh my God, there's probably super clever questions about technology that can get you off that island. But I think like a radio would probably be helpful because I'm not very good at being by myself for long periods of time. So I get super bored. So a radio would help. I'm a massive coffee drinker, so I wouldn't mind like a little coffee machine. That would help me.
When you say massive, how massive is that? Are you like 2, 3 in the morning? Are you like 7 during the day, double espressos?
No, it would be probably the latter because I've got this fantastic coffee machine. You push a button and it grinds and does everything for you. And it's so easy to use. So it's hard not to keep going back to it several times a day.
That's all about 5G. Wow, amazing. And the next one is about sort of science fiction. Are you into science fiction at all?
Yes-ish.
Looking at the science fiction movies or books that you've read, is there a piece of technology there which you wish was invented or did exist and use it?
Yes, the transporter thingy where you like go into a little place and it like just zooms you to a different place in the world. Like how good would that be for business travel? Like I would save so much time. So yeah, I want a transporter.
We did at MWC, we did meet a company called Holocast.
Yes, Holocast. They did a really good job of it.
The hologram.
Holobox.
That's the closest I've seen to literally feeling you're standing in front of someone. Yeah. He was in this box and you're standing in front of him. I felt I met him. That's the weird thing. My eyes tell me today like I still met the guy. Yeah. That was the thing. And I've seen a lot of visualizations and lots of screening. but it's somehow, and I don't know how they did it. That's the thing.
Really
you agree, Frankie, with that in principle?
I think there was some optical communication going on in the light of the box as well, right? That was new to holographic projections. That was cool.
So this is a deeper one, again, about the most significant advancement in technology and history. What do you think that is?
No surprise. Definitely, I would say the internet, because with my background and what I'm working with now, but it's definitely transformed the way that we communicate and the way that we access information and, conduct business on a global scale. So I would say the internet is just not the best that so few people in the world can access it right now.
And now more of a goofy question about Mars. We're colonizing Mars. There's a one-way ticket to Mars. Is that something you'd be tempted to do?
I know that in the instructions for this podcast, there was the first point of things that you weren't allowed to do was to swear. So I'm just going to beep. I'm going to beep myself and says beep. No, I want to stay here. There's so many places on this earth that I haven't seen yet. That's on my bucket list that I will be able to do with help from that transporter thing that we're going to build. So no, I'll stay.
Thank you for editing yourself out there, if you like.
You're welcome.
But you were talking earlier about Michelle Obama. Is there a historical figure or somebody that, living or, not, that you would want to have a conversation with?
Yes. And I don't know how you talk about like historical figure. Like when you said that, I think about something that's in my history. So the person would be my dad for sure.
Well, grit is something that develops from loss, and in looking at the people behind these projects that really require that kind of determination that you have. And we all have in life things that change us. It's one of the questions that, in my interview really struck me, as those moments for me were very sad. They came from loss, where it shifted my perspective completely in a way that I couldn't expect.
Yeah, and I think like losing someone, especially like my father, he was a bigger geek than I was, and he was always testing the new technology, and he was bringing, internet access up to northern Sweden. And when he passed 3 years ago now, he was young. He was just 58, so he was very young. But that made me start Unconnected, because with him passing, I realized that I'm making rich companies a lot richer. Yeah. But I kind of want to give a bit of a legacy as well, and use the skills and the network for something good. So I would love that hour conversation, just obviously to talk about my son and the family, but also to really tell him look at what you started, in a sense, what you inspired. Yeah. So if there would be a person that I think I would like to get some feedback from and
sounding board,
use as a bit of a sounding board, it would definitely be my father.
I love the way you've taken, let's say, a tragedy, something personally, which could also have a negative effect on you, and you've turned it into a positive. You have options, right? You had choices there to which way you're going to go with
proud.
That. Keep it up, girl.
My father is an earth scientist, like what you studied in school, Mea, and we're very close. And it's an interesting relationship, fathers and daughters, and especially if they do inspire what you do. And he also brought technology into the household very early. And even though that wasn't what I studied, really pushed that. And it's amazing to have that kind of relationship. Now, looking back, even though when I was young, I was like, oh my God, what is this thing I've got to do now? There's like a duck. Okay. That brings you to sort of in our industry today, is there somebody, because when you are out there driving change like you're doing, it can be hard. Is there somebody you look up to, somebody that is inspiring you within the industry that you'd like to give a shout out to or share with us?
Yeah, now I'm immediately thinking about powerful women, because I want to see more powerful women and lift more powerful women in this industry. One of the women that I follow strictly is Doreen Bogdan-Martin, Secretary General from the ITU. Oh my God. And the way that she she's a huge role model, both in the way that she acts in crowds and she takes her spot, but not too much, but she leads with empathy, but with a firm grip. Yeah, no, she's
what
great.
She just did and what she is doing with the carriers. And now she's got $46 billion committed for a project to connect, which is, I'm sure, very in line with what you're doing with Unconnected, which we'll hear about more in part 2. But yeah, I totally agree with you. What an amazing woman. So Mobile World Congress, we were all just there, right? And in the world that we live in today, do you see from your side and personal point of view on this overarching topic of AI and its impacts on society from like a consumer point of view who don't really understand or might not have as much insights as we all do?
Yeah, well, AI excites me and it scares me a little bit. Not that I'm wearing like a tin hat or anything, but because with AI, the way that I see it is it's built upon information that we know and it predicts things, right? And all the information that we know, that's the past. And we want to make sure that we're shaping the right future and not purely build on the past. Saying that though, like I'm using ChatGPT so much, like it's my biggest friend, like, and I'm becoming so reliant on it in like, I'm doing voice to text. So when I'm doing long emails, I'm like voicing them onto this text thing that I then paste into ChatGPT. Like it's
punctuation, no worrying about spelling.
No, but again, like it's not good either because your personal tone might not show through. So I'm excited about AI. I think it's going to have huge potential both for the healthcare industries and for educational industries and for other industries, but we need to make sure that we don't lose that personal touch. So it needs to be AI with a kind of dose of HI for it to work.
Well, you should try Cider. It's allowing me to train bots with different, like I've trained like a Frankie bot, right? And I fed it my writing samples and I've taught it about me and I've worked with it over and over and it begins to develop that tone, right? And then I've got mini Mike, and so you can like train your bots to have different, and it still uses ChatGPT 4, obviously, but it also can access the web.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cider, you said?
Yes. SIDER.
Being an international business person, seeing a lot of different things, is there some technology helping with cultural sort of breakthrough?
Yeah, well, again, I sound like a broken record, but I think I have to say the internet again on this question, because if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals that's been set, like increasing internet access and enabling the world's population to have access to the internet will combat 11 of those SDGs set directly. I could argue that it's going to cover all of them, but definitely directly impact 11. So digital equity is a huge importance for reaching, creating a greener planet, look at sustainability, etc. As well as myself, I'm really interested in the development of affordable and scalable solution for clean energy production. That's another thing that I'm kind of keeping a very close eye on. Because I think with those two components together, that's really going to help us together with AI. So there is a lot coming.
There is. Those numbers as far as still unconnected, and I know we will get to this more later, is still over 3 billion, right? I mean, we're still at a massive, especially compared to those who have adopted 5G. Right, like which is only 1.9. Like, so it's an amazing dichotomy and the delta between there is huge. Is there something, speaking of, like you said, is there something to come really that you're looking forward to most that you think will change our day-to-day lives if you look forward into those next 10 years?
Yeah, well, it depends on, I would say, what community you live in. If you're looking at the communities that we live in Sweden, etc., where we still are kind of like ahead in technology, or if we're looking into those rural regions where we operate and do a lot of projects with Unconnected, I think from a technology standpoint, we're able to see the advancement of education and healthcare. So those are the two things that I really hope is going to keep growing and expanding, especially looking at healthcare and the inclusion of telehealth into the rural communities. The amount of lives that it can save, it's immense, as well as how we are changing the way that we educate our children today because of all these amazing technologies that's available. It's just that we need to make sure it's equitable, that all the kids have the same ability and to get that type of education. And that's what I'm focusing on now in my everyday job with Unconnected. So I'm hoping that we can share that technology with more people.
More power to you.
And related to a greener planet, is there any particular technological evolution or innovation that you particularly think holds promise, or is something which will deliver change and save us, I guess, from the CO2 commitments which exist.
If we go back to the connectivity piece, because it covers a lot of these questions that were asked, how technology can help advance. And it's not a specific technology and it's not a specific innovation, but just access to the connectivity. That's what plays the crucial role in addressing these global challenges. And it does that by facilitating access to the information, to the resources, to the opportunities, which means that we then can improve access to education and healthcare and contribute to reducing poverty and all that. So again, I would say connectivity to that one too, because the more we enable people to access it, the more we will be able to utilizing their skill sets to find these great innovations in the markets and in the communities where they live and operate.
It's potential we haven't tapped into yet, and potential we really haven't even activated. But also, connectivity is not just about coverage. Can you touch on that just a little bit? Because I think people often think, well, people have coverage everywhere.
Yeah, well, 95% is the stat that I saw the latest, the percentage of people that have access to a network today of the global population. So 95% of people have access to a 3G or a 4G network, so they can access, information. But the biggest barriers to this, or to meaningful connectivity. So when we talk from Unconnected about the work that we're doing, is not just enabling coverage or enabling connectivity, we're enabling meaningful connectivity. And to be able to reach that, we need to break down a few barriers, such as affordability and digital literacy and cultural barriers, and also in some cases coverage barriers where we operate. So it needs to have a solution, and a sustainable solution, to be able to combat all those different barriers for us to be able to reach that meaningful connectivity.
And this is a kind of, just not asked this before, but I think it's important in the sustainability of yourself as a resource in doing this, and in, especially even in the vice versa of, what it takes to sustain yourself in a more corporate kind of environment. Is there something that you would want to share with other potential change makers out there to say, here's how you can, because this is hard. What you're talking about is hard. It's hard work. Like you said, never really knowing how to relax.
No, but I think even I've always had a trouble relaxing. So it's nothing that comes with a job, but just when you find that job that truly inspires you, when you find that role that truly makes you get excited by going to work, or slightly bummed out when it's Friday and you realize, I haven't done all the things that I should do. That's the thing that I wish that more people could experience.
That's nice.
Because that really ignites who you are as a professional, and that really makes you go. So even though it's late in the day, it doesn't really matter, because your work is also your hobby. And you can see that direct impact. And that fuels me more than, earning a massive wage. That fuels me a lot more.
And you said you got into mobile in an interesting way, as I did as well. How do you find that kind of passion when today we don't have a clear-cut path to that, and most people struggle a little bit with it?
No, but I think you need to scale back what telecommunication really is, because telecommunication, going to these events, is 5G, it's IoT, it's eSIM, it's MVNOs, MVNEs, MVNAs. But really what telecommunication is providing access to people to communicate and access to information and resources, etc. And if we scale it back, then it truly becomes important. So everyone working in the telecommunication industry or the tech industry, they're a part of this.
Yes.
Whether you're making rich telecom companies richer, but you are at the same time a part of a really good movement.
Yeah. I was looking at the next questions, and I think there's questions which are maybe fit in the second part of the podcast as well. But the one that I sort of thought is, you have the situation where people say health, wealth, happiness, like a triangle, right? What comes first? What's more important to you? I don't want to ask that question, but given that the internet, you mentioned several times, you think is the game changer and leveler and gives people the opportunity, would you like it to be used in a particular way, or certain aspects of it which you would, really like to be pushed forward, if you like, to achieve, let's say, a better world, which is what this podcast is really trying to celebrate and try and share?
That's a great question.
It is.
And I would say, as someone working with an organization, leading an organization who are enabling connectivity for so many people in scale, it's a huge responsibility on us. to do this, because internet can be the most amazing fact-finding, inspirational, resource-filled place where you can learn and grow. But it could also have negative side effects if you don't know how to utilize the internet in the correct way. Absolutely. So it's a responsibility for us to do that. And that's why I say, instead of healthcare and education, I would say that internet safety and training comes on spot number one, especially looking in the line of work that we are doing. So I will put that as number one, that when we are bringing people into these technologies, we need to make sure that they have enough know-how and training on how to utilize this huge wealth of information in a safe way. But in saying that, I don't think that internet should be censored, obviously, for students, but for the adult population. We're all different, and we use the internet and the information there differently. So
that's interesting. So education of how to use internet as a tool is maybe number one. I've understood you, like how to use it ethically, what it can do, because again, you'll very soon come across the bad is often front and foremost type of thing, and you'll come across it. So yeah, anyway.
Do you believe in like parental controls though and stuff like that?
Oh, 100%. I'm using that for my own son.
Yeah, because censoring and controlling for, especially in a parental sense to your own children, and not necessarily at a policy sense, even though I do think that at a policy sense for ages, there are some controls that are beneficial. But I like policy. Not too much, but I do like it.
I mean, that's a good one, because in the UK, the government has gone a bit schizophrenic in the sense of, on the one side, they're saying the young people need to learn about technology. But then in the last few months, there's been a big call for banning mobiles at school. So, how do you square those two things? Would it maybe not be better to have mobiles at school, but somehow have a control and, again, use it as an educational platform to actually make sure they should have that? I don't think we don't have in the curriculum, do we?
And the reason why I'm talking about, equal access without filtering, obviously some things should not be online, and like criminal activity online should always be fought. That I totally agree on. But when I talk about equal access and no filtering, is because we have a project in a specific country where we operate. And the key for us is to get buy-in for the communities to be able to launch our projects, because it won't be sustainable unless the community has buy-in. They've got ownership in what we do, because then they're going to look after and protect and care for the equipment and the projects that we're establishing. Right. Mm-hmm. And in this particular project, they said, because they had no connectivity, they said, for the women to get access to this particular computer center, we want to have a part of the computer centers with computers which have filtered content for the women, because otherwise they won't be able to access the computer center. And the other part is for the men, and that's unfiltered. So now the dilemma is, would you install a computer center which have filtered access for women, or potentially no access for the women at all unless we filter it? Or would we not? I'm not going to say exactly how we did or what the thought of it. It ended up being ethical, and the women now have access. But it's those kind of questions that you face where you have to work through, both from the cultural but also...
Yeah, interesting.
It's a game of diplomacy as well, yes, as it is a game of donations and getting people to collaborate, and all of that takes diplomacy, but especially on a cultural level in, like you said, implementing and really getting that ownership of the local community over the program so that it really can thrive, and not just, okay, we went in and we gave them a few computers and that's it. Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting one, and I think there are other examples of that as well, of limiting, for whatever reason, restrictions. I think we've already come to the end of this, but we do have one last question for the first half, and this is one I hopefully you'll be able to answer relatively straightforwardly, which is, you Apple or you're an Android?
Have I not been answering the other questions straightforward? I just love how I'm just showing it to you guys, but obviously the people can't see it. But I'm an Apple user. Doesn't mean that I like everything that Apple is doing, especially not the policies within the telecom industry, but that deserves a different pod. But I'm using Apple.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
We'll wrap up part one. And for everybody listening, thank you for joining us as we got to find out about the really fantastic game changer that is Mea Thompson.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to our new podcast. If you have any feedback or know of any stories to be told involving digital technology and telecoms doing good, then please do let us know via our email, getinTouch@digiteltalk.com. Also, feel free to send us a message on LinkedIn. It would be great to hear from you.
Before we go, if you've enjoyed today's episode and would like to support the podcast, then don't forget to give us a follow and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, if you'd like to leave us a review or share it with your colleagues, it really helps us on the channel.
Join us in our next episode where we speak to Mea more about Unconnected.org and the work they're doing connecting 1 billion people to the internet.
Thanks so much for being a part of our audience today, and hopefully you'll join us next time.
That's all we've got time for, so it's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from him.
Bye
for now.